I wasn't supposed to be here, but here I am, living proof that sometimes the impossible happens. I'm Mary Burrell, a hospice survivor who found purpose in the fight and a voice in the struggle. This podcast is my way of keeping it real, sharing raw, honest conversation about survival, hope, and what it really takes to rebuild your life when you get that second chance. Whether you're navigating your own health battle, caregiving for someone you love, or just need a reminder that you're not alone, this is a space where we turn struggle into strength and stories into something powerful. Because a second chance isn't just about survival, it's about stepping into your purpose with everything you've got. Podcast is more than just conversations. It's a testament to survival, resilience, and the reality of rebuilding after a second chance. It's about navigating health challenges, the weight of caregiving, and the power of community. Through storytelling, we connect through advocacy. We raise awareness, especially for tricuspid valve health and women's heart valve health. And through community, we create a space where no one feels alone in their journey. You'll hear solo episodes where I lay it all out, alongside powerful interviews with patients, caregivers, and advocates who walk this path. Together, we're breaking the silence, shattering misconceptions, and making sure no one faces the journey alone. This podcast speaks to women 20 to 65 and older, caregivers, hospice survivors, and patient advocates facing heart valve challenges, caregiving, and the journey of resilience. Health conscious individuals and medical professionals drawn to patient stories, advocacy, and groundbreaking therapies like the Evoke. Heart valve health, especially for women, is more critical than ever, yet too many remain unaware of key risks like tricuspid valve disease, despite cardiovascular disease being the leading cause of death for women in the U.S. This podcast meets the urgent need for awareness, advocacy, and real patient stories, filling a gap where women's heart valve health and rare conditions are often overlooked. With over 80% of podcast listeners seeking authentic, relatable content, now is the time to create a space that educates, inspires, and connects women navigating heart valve health challenges and caregiving. The pilot episode, Hope Starts Here, Four Voices, One Mission, kicks us off with the medical breakthroughs, advocacy, and caregiving, showing how innovation, support, and resilience can transform the patient experience. Future episodes will explore the raw realities of hospice, life after the delicate balance of caregiving, while also being a patient navigating clinical trials and embracing medical innovations. Through advocacy and education, this podcast empowers listeners with knowledge and connection. Each 15-minute episode delivers compelling stories, heartfelt interviews, and actionable insights, creating a space for inspiration, resilience, and real conversations. By sharing raw personal stories with a focus on tricuspid valve awareness, a condition rarely highlighted in mainstream media, this podcast creates a space for real conversations about life diagnoses, caregiving, and medical breakthroughs. As both a survivor and a caregiver, I bring a firsthand perspective that's both deeply personal and universally relatable. This podcast goes beyond storytelling. It builds community by offering actionable insights, collaborating with advocacy groups, and amplifying listener voices to create a real connection and inspire hope. I'm looking to partner with sponsors, advocacy groups, and organizations passionate about heart valve health, caregiving, and patient advocacy. Through sponsorships, guest appearances, and co branded campaigns, we can work together to raise awareness and make a real impact. To support the podcast, I will incorporate sponsored content, ads, and listeners' contributions through platforms like Patreon. Down the line, I hope to introduce merchandise that strengthens our community and sustains this mission. More than just a podcast, this is a space for all of us where listeners can share stories, ask questions, and engage with experts. It's about building supportive community that lifts each other up. Hope starts here. Four Voices, One Mission is just the beginning. Follow the podcast on YouTube and share it with someone who needs a little hope and inspiration. Let's build this community together. You can reach me via email info@maryburrell.com. My website's at www.maryburrell.com. And you can reach me with social media on Instagram and Facebook as Second Chances, as Mrs. Avocado, or on LinkedIn as Mary Burrell. Hope isn't something we wait for, it's something we create. Tune in into the pilot episode and hear how four voices came together with one mission to inspire, connect, and prove that even in the hardest times, hope is always within reach. You've just stepped into a space where real conversations about heart valve health, resilience, and advocacy comes to life. This is Heart to Heart Talk with Mary Burrell, where we speak from the heart for the heart. I'm Mary Burrell, hospice survivor, patient advocate, and heart valve warrior on a mission to amplify voices, share untold stories, and empower you to take control of your heart health. Because when it comes to your heart, knowledge isn't just power, it's survival. So grab a seat, open your heart, and let's dive in. Because every heartbeat has a story, and it's time to tell yours. If you caught part one, you probably felt it. Azure's voice shaking just a little as she talked about what it was like walking into hospice with me. She didn't know what she was stepping into. None of us really did. But she showed up anyway, scared, heart wide open, and full of love. All right, let's jump back in. Part two picks up right where we left off. And if you missed part one, go back and listen to the rawness Azure brings. She didn't hold back. Well, in part two, Azure gets even more vulnerable. She opens her heart and shares what it was like to witness my pain, my fight, and the little flickers of hope that somehow kept burning through the darkest days. This isn't easy stuff, but it's real and it matters. So let's get going. Here's part two.
I'm now aware that at some point, you and dad will pass on and we have to keep living. And I never, if I'm being honest, I never thought that growing up, even well into adulthood. It was always you're preparing for this moment and you know the moment is coming sooner than later. But now I realize, like, I have a child and I know that I'm totally going to cry. So I apologize. Um, I look at mortality differently. And I'm hyper aware that I am going to have to pull it together to be there for my kid, and that like this is a part of life, but it's like a whole new box, Pandora's box, post valve, because we're
Mm.
getting to experience, there's so much goodness, there's so much richness there, but then on the other side there's like this dark friend that you've had your whole life, and it's always there. Sometimes it disappears for a little bit, you know it's there, but it's like out of sight, out of mind. But
Okay.
there's always this like dark old friend that's going to come and visit you, and and so I think for me, I'm thoroughly enjoying watching you thrive. And it's been so nice to like travel with you guys and for you to see the two of you travel by yourselves. um it has been a lot of fun to walk with you and do 5Ks with you and create all these memories.
Mhm.
But I also am aware that I am going to have a plan in place. And these are kind of the unseen sides of being a caregiver, and especially when you've been doing it your whole life. Um,
Mhm.
Figuring out like what that looks like, um, what that feels like. It's not easy.
Wow. Um, The disease was my diagnosis, and it not only affected my life, but it affected all of your lives. And I knew that when I was going through it, and I know it now. Um, if I could change things, of course, but hindsight, I've learned, is just a waste of time. Spend time there long enough to learn the lesson, and then turn around and go forward. But with that being said, um, is there anything else that you'd like to add, Azure?
Yes, actually, because I'm a parent now. Um, and it's interesting to look at my childhood and the childhood that I am trying to give my child. Um, and I think that a lot of the things that were ingrained in LB and I, like empathy and understanding that not everybody goes home to the same life. Not everybody has the same skills and tools that they come to school with. Um, I think some of the unintended, I don't want to say consequences because it's not a consequence, but some of the unintended um, impacts of illness is that your grandchild is learning these things too. And while in a different way, like I'm more hyper aware to preserve her childhood, she is probably the most empathetic person I've ever met, and she's hyper aware of accessibility, and like she thinks about those things when it comes to her friends and people at school. And I think that that is something that society could do with having many more of. Growing
Amen to that.
it's unfortunate that we have so many people, both adult and children, who don't understand how crippling illness can be, and you don't have to see it. You don't have Somebody doesn't have to have a visible disability for you to suddenly become empathetic or sympathetic to their cause, you know. uh,
Hmm.
and that is something that as an adult, one of those I'm very aware of, and I understand why I am that way, but I also cherish it, and it's something that I'm very proud that my child now, it naturally comes to her. I think she also is very aware of life and death, and it doesn't scare her in the way that it scared me as a child. Um, I think being a caregiver, especially as a child, shapes and defines you as a different type of person. Uh, when you meet other people who were in similar roles as teens or even children, I feel like it's more common with teens. It's like an unspoken understanding of life. And so that is something that I'm very proud of. It makes me proud that you all have taught LB and I that. And I don't know if that was like an intentional thing, like you and dad sat down and were like, this is the way that we're going to parent them, or if it was just watching the trials and tribulations of someone getting better and then getting sick and then getting better and getting sick. You, rather than try to fix the symptom, you are just supporting them where they're at. And I also want to say, I didn't realize how much weight caregivers wear until you got your valve replaced. You really just think of it as supporting the person you love. Like I would never have called myself a caregiver. Um, but I took dad to a chemo session when LB took you to one of your appointments at UW. And I took dad to the cancer center and they called him back. And at the time, they weren't letting us sit in the room with the patients. They wanted you to stay out in the lobby. And one of
Hmm.
the women came over and gave me a pamphlet on caregiving. And I was just trying to kill time. And as I'm looking through it, they had all these resources and support for stress management and understanding your roles as a caregiver and how to like pour into yourself. And that was, I think, a come full circle. I mean, you are a caregiver. You are supporting someone you love and care about, good, bad, ugly, and indifferent, but you do have to take care of yourself. And you do have to, in a lot of ways, work through the anticipatory grief and start to accept that there is life on the other side and what that looks like. It's a very deep Pandora's box, but something that I truly don't think I ever began to conceptualize until that moment in the living room with dad and LB. And it was an indescribable feeling and like flood of emotion and thoughts. And so we're probably 5 years out. You've had your valve, what, 5 years, four
I
years?
four. I'm
Four
on
years?
my fourth year with my Evoke valve. Yep.
Yeah, this must have been 2019, 2018, because it was what you were very sick at the time, in and out of the hospital, but you were there for extended periods of time. Um, I think going through the last 5 years, we'll say five, maybe 6 years, um, I've started to realize the importance of caregiving and taking care of myself because I can't be of help to you. I can't support you in the way that you deserve it and how I want to if I am not taking care of myself.
I think that actually is like not talked about enough is caregiving and it's self-love too. It's not just about giving care, it's about loving yourself and taking the time for yourself as well. I'm glad you brought that up.
It's a dense conversation. I hate that we have to condense it down, so I might need a part two.
You know what? We can definitely do a prayer too. I think that would be fun. Um, but I just, wow, Azure, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I love you and I appreciate you, not just for being here, but for showing up in life the way you do every day. I know someone listening needs to hear this today. Conversations like this are exactly why we keep showing up, because these stories, these experiences, they matter. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of Heart to Heart Talk with Mary Burrell, where we speak from the heart for the heart. If today's conversation sparked something in you, a question, a revelation, or maybe even the courage to take the next step in your own heart health journey, don't keep it to yourself. Talk about it. Share your story. Start the conversation. Subscribe so you never miss an episode. Leave a review to help more people find these conversations and pass this episode along to someone who may need it. And if you're all ready to dive in deeper, join the conversation. Connect with me on social media or visit www.maryburrell.com for more resources, support, and ways to take action. Because when we speak up, we spark change, and the world needs to hear our voices. And remember, your heartbeat is more than just a rhythm, it's a message. What is yours saying?